Hello everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Movie Canon. We are live and I'm Giovanni, and this is a new episode of my show called The Met Report, which is a show about movies, entertainment, and television news. So thank you guys for the ones who are watching live right now. I do see a few of you guys there. And like always, if you guys could let me know if there's any issues with the audio, the picture, the sound, the volume, the song, the music, whatever is too loud. Let me know so that I could adjust it, and that way I'm not like talking for like 30 minutes and there was an issue this whole time. I'll try to check in a bit on my own to see if there's any problems or anything like that. But this is like I said, a new episode of the Met Report, and there's a few things that I'm going to talk about here today. And I do have the giveaways. I have the giveaways that I'm doing, the Barbie, Ken, the Spider-Man 2 PS5 physical copy game. We have Bernie Moon saying no issues. Perfect. So there's no issues. So that's good. We're starting off really good. Okay, so the things that we're going to talk about here today, or I'm going to talk about here today, are we have some news, some claims about Rotten Tomatoes, the website. So there's some issues going on there. I'll give you guys more details about that. We have the non-spoiler review. Is it a see it, stream it, or skip it? Of the NUN Part 2. We also have the It Lives Inside movie that comes out on September 22nd. So I'm doing a non-spoiler review of that as well. Is that one a see it, stream it, or skip it? I'll let you guys know in just a bit here. And then we're doing the Figures Talk segment. For this Figures Talk segment, we have Doc Ock as one of them that was released. We have here Bernie Moon says music volume could be lowered, but that's just me. Okay, so let me just lower it a little bit here. I just don't want it to be distracting. Okay, so I lowered it a little bit. It might have something to do with the song. Sometimes the song itself is like really loud. Just on its own, so that might be the case. So I lowered it a little bit, so just let me know, guys, if there's any issues. Okay, so going back here, so those are the topics that I'm doing here, and then, like we always start with this, if you haven't subscribed to the Movie Canon YouTube channel, go ahead and do so for future content, future giveaways. And right now, what is still open for the giveaways is this Barbie, Western Barbie Funko Pop. So that giveaway is still open. This one is about to be, I'm about to close this. I think I'll probably give it away or officially announce the winner next week. So maybe in the stream that I do next weekend, I may actually announce the winner. I've been waiting for the actual product to arrive or whatever. So that's kind of why I've been holding off on it. But this one is still open, so there's still time if you haven't entered for this. Same thing for the Ken, the Western Ken Funko Pop giveaway, so that one is also still open. And I'll probably announce the winner for that one next week as well. That is the plan anyway. And as I mentioned and I announced last week, the Spider-Man 2 PS5 game physical copy giveaway is officially open, and it will remain open for a few weeks. And I'll give you a little bit more details if this is the first time that you see this. But subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to the Instagram page at The Movie Canon so you can get more details as to how you could enter and win this highly anticipated video game, Spider-Man 2 PS5. Okay, so let's go and begin with the first thing that I wanted to talk about here today. So let me just set this up real quick here. So a lot of us know the website Rotten Tomatoes, right? So you use that for get your reviews, critics. There's a score that we get. A lot of there's a misconception as to what Rotten Tomatoes is about or what does it do. I know there's a lot of people who believe that the Rotten Tomatoes, the website itself, is giving out the score, that's their overall score of any particular movie, but that's not actually how it works. The way it works is they have several critics who join and are admitted into Rotten Tomatoes website, and all these critics from different sources, different YouTube channels or papers or journals or whatever the case might be, those critics in Rotten Tomatoes, they represent that particular source, and they give their review, their score of that particular movie. And based on all those reviews from all those critics and the totality of it, Rotten Tomatoes gives a score. Fresh is a tomato, fresh tomato, and then obviously if it's rotten, if it scores under 60%, then that is like a splat or whatever, which is rotten. So that's where we get the Rotten Tomatoes. So that was just something that I know some people believe that it's the website itself that is giving you the score, but it's actually not the case. And it is important that I mention that because the report that we got earlier this week is also going to be very important that you know this. So let me go to the actual page here. Okay, so hold on a second here while I set this up. Okay, so this is from IGN. So we have Rotten Tomatoes under fire after PR firms scheme to pay critics for positive reviews uncovered. So the information here is that it looks like some critics were actually accepting money to give a positive review. Ultimately, that's kind of how it's coming out here. Hopefully you guys can see me here in the shot here. I'm sharing my screen, so hopefully you guys can see that. All right, so let me read this here. So we have earlier today, Vulture uncovered a scheme from a PR firm called Bunker 15 to goose reviews for 2018 Daisy Ridley drama Ophelia. After initial reviews came in, resulting in a disappointing 46% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, a movie is deemed rotten if failing short of a 60% rating, which I mentioned earlier. Vulture reports that Bunker 15 started paying lower level critics, and I don't know how they consider what a lower level critic is, on the website to post positive reviews for $50 a pop, essentially trying to manipulate the system. The firm also lobbied one critic to change their negative review to positive. So as it turns out, the scheme worked and the money followed, and Ophelia, which is the Daisy Ridley movie, jumped up to a 62% rating, scoring the coveted fresh label. And the next month, IFC Films announced it acquired the film for distribution. Bunker 15, for its part, denied the allegations, with founder Daniel Harlow telling Vulture, "We have thousands of writers in our distribution list. A small handful have set up a specific system where filmmakers can sponsor or pay to have them review a film." So I find that very interesting because a lot of us, I know a lot of people look into Rotten Tomatoes to see the overall score, right? You're gonna go see a movie, you're gonna pay money, you're gonna drive somewhere, it might turn into a night out, you have dinner, you go with family, friends, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case, and you spend some money. So a lot of people look into critics or look into reviews of movies, and to get an idea, is this movie going to be good or is it bad? What's the situation there before I spend all this money? You can easily spend like $100 on a night out at the movies. I mean, it is cheaper than other stuff, but it's still, a decent amount of money. And then obviously if you go more than once a week, that could definitely add up. So a lot of people look into these things just to get an idea. I don't know. Some people I know fully rely on the score, and they don't even consider any other things, any other components as to making a decision. Like for me, and I myself, I obviously review things on my channel and so forth. I'm not a Rotten Tomatoes critic or anything, but like for me, if a movie I found interesting because of the trailer, or maybe I've seen a previous movie, or maybe the filmmaker has done some good work in the past, I consider that. The Rotten Tomato score, or just critics in general, I usually use them just as a guide if I'm on the fence. If I'm on the fence on a particular movie, then then I may consider that, because we don't always agree. Critics don't always agree among themselves, and an individual may not agree with what the overall score of Rotten Tomato is. So that's why I just kind of rely on it as a guide myself. But now we're hearing this information that some what they call low-level critics are paid $50 just to give a positive review. That's kind of I find it to be kind of interesting, because like, first of all, if you're gonna do that, it's like only $50. But not that I would do that, but I'm just saying only $50. That's all you need, and you're gonna go ahead and change your grade or your response. You're like easily ready to change your mind for $50. But anyways, so I mean, that's just something like, okay, so now what are we gonna do? How many critics did this? Now when you see Rotten Tomatoes, are you going to actually rely on it? If you were an individual who would rely on it very deeply, very thoroughly, because now this is going to be in the back of your head that well, maybe this was paid, this good score. But I don't know how many people have actually done that. I'm not sure. I don't think that there would have been that many of them, many critics that actually did it. But based on this movie that they addressed here, Ophelia, which I never even heard of that movie, to be honest with you, I never even heard of it. But obviously it changed. The score, they said it was 46% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and then it went to a 62%. So I mean, it also depends on how many critics actually review. So the fewer amount of critics, if you change it, just a few of them, a few handful of them change their score to a positive one, it will be a big significance. So there's that into consideration there. But the main thing about this is like, well, Rotten Tomatoes is not, I mean, ultimately it's not really their fault. There's some critics that were, I guess, selected or to do that. And again, these are all allegations, but it's like, we don't know for sure. But obviously this report came out, and yeah, so I don't know. What do you guys think about this here? Now, when you try to watch a movie, do you consider Rotten Tomatoes as your source? Like, if you see a fresh score in a movie, do you actually go and see it because it's fresh, or the opposite? If it's rotten, you just completely gonna avoid that movie. Again, Rotten Tomatoes is not the website that's actually paying these critics to change their opinion on a particular movie or to vote positive for a movie. Rotten Tomatoes is not doing that, and even the report here is just allegations. But I just found this interesting because I think some of us did think about this, that you would think like, okay, you see all these critics giving their response, giving their opinions or whatever, and it's like, especially the big ones, it's like, do they get paid? Does the studio pay them to give a positive review? And if they don't, they give a negative review. So I think it's in the back of everyone's mind, I would think. That's not something that I really had in my mind. I would like to think that critics have their integrity and are honest and things like that. We have Ivan Cardenas says $50. For $50, I'll add movie to my top 10 list. Okay, so there you go, Ivan. So Ivan would not just give a positive review of a movie, but he'll add it to their top, or his top 10 list. So there you go. There's one there. So yeah, so like I said, that was something interesting that I just wanted to address here today. Okay, so then the next thing here is I'm doing a non-spoiler review after talking about the critics and reviews. Now I'm going to do my review. I'm not from Rotten Tomatoes. I have like less than 1,000 subscribers, so I'm not on Rotten Tomatoes. But this is my non-spoiler review of The Nun Part 2. And so in the movie canon, we have our rating system, see it, stream it, or skip it. So that's what I've been using for a while. So that's what I'm going to use here too. So let me just get my little notes, because I always like to write little notes as to what it is that I'm going to talk about here. But there's 2 movies that I'm reviewing today. They're 2 horror movies. Obviously, this is the first one, and there's another movie called It Lives Inside, which comes out in 2 weeks, in a couple weeks. So I'll review that one too. That one's also a non-spoiler one. Right off the bat, these 2 horror movies were not great. So just right off the bat, they're not gonna make it to my top 10 or top 5, nothing like that. So I'll just say that right away here. Okay, so let's begin by, like always, we do the positives, the negatives, the positive components, positive elements of each movie. That's why I like to break it down here. And the first movie came out in 2018, and I did not like it. It's part of the Conjuring universe, and it stars the sister of Vera Farmiga. And let me just try to get the name of the actual actress. Hold on a sec here. So we have Taissa Farmiga. So she's the younger sister of Vera Farmiga, who's in The Conjuring. So let's begin by the positives here. So let me get here. Okay, so there you go. So they have a nice little image there of the nun. So if you're afraid of the nun, you may not want to be watching this right now, but okay, so I'm just going to go into right away. Like I said, there's more negatives than positives. But one of the main things here is the performances here. Sometimes in horror movies, the performances are not that strong. They're not that great. I think I see that happen a lot, actually. But the performances here are actually good. The main cast did a great job in the portrayal of their characters. Even though the story itself and the script is actually very weak. So I'll say that. Another positive thing for The Nun Part 2 is there is one, and I think is just one shot that I found creepy, but it only lasted for like a few seconds. It's a non-spoiler review, so I don't want to get into it, obviously, because that would be spoilery. There is one scene that I didn't find creepy or scary, but I thought was pretty cool. Let me try to get to that image there. Hold on a sec. Okay, so this is the one that I'm talking about here. So this particular scene, and you've seen it in the trailer. So if you've seen the trailer, I didn't find this creepy or scary, but I did think it was pretty cool. The way that it was shot, the style of it. I thought it was a pretty cool scene. That this is with the magazines. Again, also a rather short moment of the film. Not scary, not creepy, but I thought it was cool. So I'll give it a positive thing. Also, the look of the nun. So let me go back to the nun again here. Let me see, where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay, so the look of the nun. I mean, she's always been creepy. They introduced her. I think she was introduced in Conjuring 2. And, I mean, she always been creepy looking, So the look of her is always good. So they didn't change that. So again, it's a positive thing. But when I get into the negatives for this movie, and going back to even the first one, when it comes to the backstory of the nun, it's pretty lame. Considering that the nun itself, she looks pretty creepy, she looks cool and everything, especially all these horror fans, but her backstory sucks. So I'll just say it's a positive because the look of the nun is positive, but that's about it. Okay, so now I'm gonna get into the negatives. So the negatives of The Nun Part 2. So there you go. The story is basic as fuck. I found it a bit boring. It was not scary, as I mentioned a few times. There's a scene in the beginning of this movie that I found pretty hilarious. And of course, it wasn't intentional. So while it's a negative thing, because it's not intentional, I guess I can give it a Tommy Wiseau praise, but it's still a negative. So when you see the movie, or if you've already seen it, there's a scene at the beginning of the movie that I found hilarious. I don't know if you'll find it hilarious, but I did. But maybe if you watch it later, and then maybe you'll find it too. I don't know, but I thought it was funny. But I mean, it's a positive because it's entertaining to me, but it's actually not a positive thing. It's a negative thing for the movie. The other thing is, let me see if I can find another little image here. Okay, so the nun's abilities, right? So the nun's abilities, they're kind of confusing because it's like she's a demon and everything. It's things that has been established even from The Conjuring 2. Her abilities, I don't know, like how much power does she have? Like, what can she do? Because it's like all of a sudden she can do all these things. And again, I don't want to get into spoilers or anything, but she does these things that I don't think she's done before. And it's like, well, why isn't she like taking over the world already, basically? If, you know, she's has all these powers or whatever, her abilities. So that stuff is kind of confusing. And then also the motivations. So again, I don't want to get into spoilers, but the motivations of the nun, they're kind of weak. They're kind of lame. It's like we don't need those kind of motivations for a horror character like this. That'll be probably a motivation for, I don't know, like a human being, you know. Of course, there's more to it. You know, there's more things about the motivations of the nun in this particular movie. So I just thought it was kind of weak and kind of lame, basic, generic. I just wasn't really into this movie. So that's a negative thing there. Okay, so now let's get into the I think that's pretty much it. I think I gave you guys all my positives and all my negatives for The Nun Part 2. And again, this is part of the Conjuring universe. Now, I really do like the Conjuring movies. The first one, I liked the second one. Third one was okay. Then obviously these Nun movies. The first Nun movie really sucked. This one sucked. Annabelle, the Annabelle movies are also part of the Conjuring universe. The first one sucked, in my opinion. The second one, which is really a prequel, that was much better. And then the third one, I think it's called Annabelle Comes Home. I believe that was the name of that one. That one was good. I liked it enough, but still the best one is the prequel, the second one. And then we have La Llorona. They decided to include La Llorona as part of the Conjuring universe for whatever reason. That movie was terrible. So not a good track record when it comes to these spin-off movies from The Conjuring. If you do watch this movie, there is a mid-credit scene, so stick around for that. There's a mid-credit scene. I don't think there's a post-credit scene. I didn't stick around for that. I don't think there is, though. Just so you guys know about that. Okay, so now going into the rating system again. So you have to see it, stream it, or skip it. So again, I see it as a movie that you should see in theaters. Stream it, self-explanatory. Or there's also skip it. So this is what The Nun Part 2 is. It's a skip it. It's a skip it. Grade C-. Now, why is it a C- and not like an F or anything? Because they were a couple things that were entertaining. Like I mentioned, this shot right here, this image that you see right here, that scene was cool. It was very short, very brief. I found it to be creative, interesting. So I liked it. And then there's that one shot that I did find a bit creepy, but it was like seconds long. The acting, you know, that was good, but overall, not a good movie. So I'll say it's a C-. skip it. Those are my thoughts of the Nun Part 2. I'm not being sponsored by anyone. I'm not getting paid $50. Well, I don't know why we want to get paid $50 for a negative review, or maybe I was gonna give it an F, but now I'm giving it a C-. Anyways, so there you go, guys. So that's the Nun Part 2. So now let's move on to the next movie. So the next movie, it's another horror movie, like I mentioned. It comes out in a couple of weeks. Now I watched this on Monday. Regal Theaters has this mystery movie thing. They do it like every 2 weeks, I believe, like every other Monday. So you buy a ticket for like $5, and you don't know what movie it is, and you won't know until they actually start playing the movie. And I've been doing that for the last I don't know, like month and a half or so. I've seen like 3 of them already, and this is the most recent one. So they showed this movie called It Lives Inside. So it's a horror movie, indie movie, and they showed that. Now this movie comes out on September 22nd, and like I said, it's like an indie, very low budget movie and so forth. So I'm going to do a non-spoiler review of this movie. And again, like always, we have the positives and the negatives. So let me get some information here, because the filmmaker here is new, right? So this is his first film, and his name is Bishal Dutta. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, so I apologize. Not that he's watching right now, but Bishal Dutta, this is his first film. So it's written and directed by him, and it's positives and negatives. So I'm going to start with the positives for this one here. So let me get to the little graphic here. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer for this. I saw it over the summer, and the trailer itself didn't really grab me that much. I wasn't that interested in it. But I would say that this is the part that is the most positive, or most or the best thing about this movie. So the originality of the movie. So it's not based on anything, or at least not really based on anything. It's an original work, original story. The filmmaker Dutta created this original story, and it's within the tropes of horror films we're familiar with. And I like the fact that he used very personal experiences in shaping the cultural horror elements of this movie. So when you watch this movie, the filmmaker here, he's from India, and if I read some information from him earlier, and it looks like he did immigrate here to the US, and this is kind of his experience of immigrating here to the US and growing up here, and then liking and watching all these horror movies and things like that, and all the tropes regarding those horror movies like Freddy and all that stuff. So there's something that he mentioned that I'm going to read here. So this is something that the filmmaker stated. We have here, the story is influenced by Indian demonic mythology as well as personal story from Dutta's grandfather. So it looks like there's like some stories that maybe he was told growing up. Like I said, I'm not from India, so I'm not going to know these cultural things, what is from the stories that the culture told, or I don't know which one is made up or not. But I thought that was kind of interesting that he used like his experiences as a person from India, and then implementing it into a story and something that he likes, a horror film, things like that. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then when I was watching the movie, I was kind of thinking about that too. I was like, oh, this filmmaker, obviously he's probably from India, and he probably grew up here, was a horror fan, and he probably picked up some things in his culture that's like, oh, I'm gonna make a horror movie out of this, because some of these stories that I've heard are kind of creepy. These are kind of the things that I've as Hispanic have heard throughout growing up and things like that. So I thought that was very cool that he did that. So let me read what he said here before. So we have here, this is the filmmaker stating, this is his statement. It says, after I moved to North America from India at the age of 4, a lot of my social education came from watching American horror films. I always wondered, what were families like mine doing, while Bruce the Shark tore through the Mideast waters. I don't know what that means. While Freddy Krueger slashed teenagers in the dreamscape. And while Jack Torrance chased his son through the maze-like hills of the Overlook, as it developed, it lives inside, formed its own dual identity much like mine. On one hand, it is a love letter to the community and culture that raised me, while on the other, it is a visceral experience that is designed to instill the same raw terror in its viewers that my favorite horror films instilled in me. So those are the positive things that I liked about this movie. Now, there's some things that I thought he should have done differently. But that's probably the main thing that I like about this film. All those components there. Another one here is, let me see, is there another one? Oh, the family dynamics are also a positive element of the film. Even though it could have been better. Kind of like, Blue Beetle, we have a family that's, immigrants or from stories that we haven't really seen throughout the decades or so, and now we're kind of seeing these kind of stories, these different type of families from different cultures and things like that. So it kind of reminded me of that. So I like that. But overall, when it comes to a movie, the story has to be good. I have to be entertained. If it's a horror, it has to at least find it creepy. So now I'm going to get into the negatives of this movie. So let's see here. Okay, so in the negatives, okay, so I mentioned earlier, so we have those familiar horror tropes that we're used to and that we like, especially some of these horror fans. But I feel like they are overutilized in this movie, which lead to some rather dull, boring scenes. There are also a couple of typical characters in here that drag the film. It dragged it significantly, at least to me. And just in general, it had those cliched scenes that help the plot move forward. I'm sure you can imagine one of those plot devices to move the story forward, especially when it comes to a horror movie. You could imagine what might be those plot devices. I don't want to get into it, like I said, because it's a non-spoiler review, but there's a couple of those here, which I was like, okay, yeah, we probably could have done without that. But either way, it's done. And I recognize the difficulties of creating an original story that is both personal, thrilling, and entertaining to the audience. And while the filmmaker adds some cool ideas, because he adds some very good ideas here, some components here that I liked, like I mentioned, they're also mixed with too many of those typical and predictable story beats in horror movies. So yeah, so that's what we got for this one here. And then also, I'm going to describe the thing. Like I said, this is a non-spoiler review, so I don't want to get into details. I don't want to get into whether we see the thing or we don't, or what does it look like, or whatever the case. If you've seen the trailer, you don't really see anything. Okay, so I'll try to be as careful as I can, but just so you know, I'm going to call it as the entity, and you can take it however you want. So the entity, I thought it was okay. The design, or lack of design, whatever you want to call it. And I understand that this is not a big budget movie, so I'm not expecting some huge ass big monster or CGI thing or whatever. But it definitely did have some creepy looking shots regarding the entity, whether you see it or not. In the film, in the trailer, they kind of used some of that, which kind of worked in the trailer and things like that. When it's barely shown. on screen, but it was ultimately a bit of a lackluster, so I wasn't a huge fan of the actual entity of it, right? Also, there's something that happens at the end that does not quite make much sense to me, and probably would have worked better if they had taken a completely different route, but I guess that's just me for that. So I guess that's kind of the negatives here for this movie. It lives inside. This is his first film, which is Bishal Dutta. Like I said, I'm probably mispronouncing that. Apologies, but I just don't know how to pronounce it correctly here. But this is his first film, debut film, and ultimately I'll say that it's a solid first film for this filmmaker, Bishal Dutta. He definitely has some cool ideas. Maybe later on he can implement them in a better way, in a more interesting way, and get rid of some of the cliche things. And like I said, I know it's hard to create an original story and things like that. I understand that. So I'll get to the grade here. So as I mentioned here, it's not a great movie. It's a solid first film. It had its good moments, like I mentioned. So it's a stream it. So it is going to be a stream it, and I'm going to give it a C+. So that's It Lives Inside, coming to theaters on September 22nd. And that's it. That was the second horror movie that I saw this week. All right. Okay, so that was it for the non-spoiler reviews that I had here for today, these two horror movies. So now I'm going to get into the figures talk segment. So give me just a moment here. Okay, so where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'm going to get into the figures talk segment. And as I mentioned before, I mentioned this several times now, and I'll probably continue to mention this until it's become like a staple of the Met Report. But in the last few months, I added a new segment called Figures Talk, and I usually wait until the end of my live stream to talk about them in case some people are not interested in the figures 1/6 scale community and stuff like that. So that's why I kind of show it at the end. But this new segment, I just be talking about these figures, either Hot Toys, in art, or whatever. So this week there hasn't been any announcements, like any new announcements from Hot Toys, but they did release a few that were announced like a year and a half ago, and they've been officially released. So this is the main one. I think is the main one that I've found the most interesting. Now, I didn't pick him up. This is Doc Ock, or Dr. Octopus, from Spider-Man No Way Home. So this is the 1/6 scale figure that was announced last year. And as you can see here, I go based on the Sideshow website. Like I said, it's the biggest distributor in the United States. So that's why I use that. And I just kind of rely on it. It's kind of like the main one. So that's why I usually talk about Sideshow. I know there's other stores, websites that sell 1/6 scale figures and so forth, but this is the biggest one. So if you were trying to get this Doc Ock 1/6 scale Hot Toy, it is waitlisted, both versions, I believe, because they have the standard and the deluxe. So he's technically sold out on Sideshow. I think the price was like $340, maybe $385 for the deluxe. I'm not totally sure, but because Sideshow doesn't show the price anymore when it's waitlisted, so that's why I put here Sideshow price waitlisted. So again, this is Dr. Octopus, Alfred Molina. The portrayal comes from him, and Doc Ock was a great character, great villain in Spider-Man 2. I liked him in Spider-Man No Way Home. So I think he was a great villain, and I did like him in this new version, or in this new movie that came out in 2021. Now I'm trying to get some more pictures, because this is the only one that I have here that I actually edited myself. So let me try to get here, see if you guys can see some other photos. Okay, so hold on a sec here. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see me. Hopefully you guys can see me here. And okay, so this is the image. Again, Dr. Octopus, Alfred Molina. There's some controversy with this. I kind of agree with some of these controversies. Like I said, Doc Ock is a great character. He's very cool looking. Everything looks really, really good, as you can see here. But the head sculpt is not good at all. And some people are okay with it, you know, within the 1/6 scale community. Some people are okay with the head sculpt. I don't really like it that much. When I was looking into, just I was curious to see, you know, what are some of the figures Hot Toys has released regarding, you know, Spider-Man or whatever. And then I saw Doc Ock, and then I saw the head sculpt. I was like, oh, this doesn't look that good. And it was, like I said, expensive. You know, everything looks good. Like I said, the tentacles look awesome. The fabric, the clothes, the coats, the glasses look cool and everything. It's just the head sculpt. A lot of people were calling him the John Lennon Doc Ock or the Austin Powers Doc Ock. This shot, I like this. I like this shot right here. I think there was a poster of Spider-Man 2 that came out in 2004. I think this was one of the teaser posters that showed Doc Ock. I think that's why they're showing it like this. So that looks cool, but you can't really see the head sculpt that much, so maybe that's why it looks even better. Oh, here's a better shot. Here's a much closer shot of Doc Ock. Like I said, some people are fine with it. Some people are liking it. I'm not one of them. So that's why they didn't even bother to try to get him. But I could understand. I could see someone wanting, you know, Doc Ock, especially since we're probably not gonna get another Alfred Molina Doc Ock hot toy ever again, because I think he's done. I don't know where he would come back. Maybe Avengers, Secret Wars. Who knows? Who knows what's happening with that movie? Here's another shot here, right? So here's a better, closer look at the head sculpt. I kind of see Alfred Molina sometimes, but I don't think he really looks like him that much. So, and that's another shot here. Another one here. Yeah, so all these photos are cool. Oh, and then it has like the thing right here. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, that looks cool. This shot right here with the Spider-Man. That's the Andrew Garfield version. That was kind of like the No Way Home, but it's really the Amazing Spider-Man 2 version. So yeah, so this one was released this week. Okay, that's kind of cool. So it was released, and like I said, if you're trying to buy him, you may have to hunt for him. You may have to go to maybe comic book stores, or if you're in SoCal, maybe Frankensons. They may get Doc Ock eventually. But other than that, you may have to put yourself on waitlist to see if it converts, and maybe you can get him later. But that's Doc Ock. So what are your thoughts? So the people who are interested in this, what are your thoughts on Doc Ock? Do you think he looks fine? You think he looks perfect? The head sculpt doesn't bother you enough for this? Are you getting him? Did you already get him? So that's it here. Let me see if there's any other photos. Okay, so I think that's it for the Doc Ock. So now let's get into the other release. So the other release here is from Star Wars, and this is C-3PO. So this is C-3PO from Attack of the Clones, Hot Toys. Again, he was announced, I think, maybe last year. I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't actually collecting then, but it was released this week as well. And I know some members of the 1/6 scale community weren't really that interested in this one, because they would rather have, at the time when they announced it, this was the only one, at least most recent, that they had for C-3PO. I know a lot of people wanted the one from Return of the Jedi, and there was speculation that there was going to be one from Return of the Jedi because it's the anniversary, 40-year anniversary, and sure enough, Hot Toys did release or did announce a C3PO from 40th anniversary. And this one looks doesn't look that clean, because like it's from the, like I said, from Attack of the Clones. So this C3PO was very weathered. It looks more like bronze looking and things like that. So he doesn't look as clean and as gold as the ones that's the C3PO that we're familiar with, right? So if you're more interested in this look of C3PO, then yeah, this is definitely the one for you. And let me try to get some other pictures, some other photos of this specific C3PO. So let me get there right now here. Okay, so hold on a sec. Okay, so let's see if you guys can see it. Okay, so you can see, in Star Wars Attack of the Clones, there's a scene where one of the battle droids, the head goes onto C3PO's body. So this is that one little scene. So you can actually, it comes with this. It comes with the battle droid head. So you can recreate this scene here. Not sure if you like that or not, but this is an option for you. And this is obviously the only one that has it, because this is from that particular movie. And okay, they have an image here with C3PO without the head. So I don't know why you wouldn't display this one, but I guess if you want to, as C3PO without his head. And then we have this backside image of C3PO. So you can see like this very like bronze looking, very weathered, almost like damaged. Because if you've seen the movie, he goes through a bunch of crap, especially in that movie. Then we have this shot here that looks pretty cool, kind of like A New Hope, almost. And so yeah, so this C3PO, C3PO is an original character, a legendary character, legacy characters, if you want to call it. These two here, C3PO and R2D2. I was never like a huge fan of C3PO. Like, I never really have anything. Now I have the Funko Pop of C3PO because I had the actor sign it when I went to Star Wars Celebration, but I wasn't actually intending on getting a C3PO hot toy. So I didn't obviously get this one, and I didn't get I didn't order the 40th anniversary either. I like this picture here. This looks like directly from the movie, like a little background. I don't know if it's an actual image or if it's like a little diorama that they made for the photo shoot here. So yeah, so if you're a big Star Wars fan, C3PO fan, and you want this different type of C3PO from the prequel movie Attack of the Clones, then this is the one. And just like the Doc Ock, it's waitlisted, so you can't buy him on Sideshow anymore. You can add yourself on the waitlist, but just like Doc Ock, you may have to hunt for him. And I say hunt, but I don't know, like, if it's really like a hassle. Like, maybe you just have to go to your local comic book store and it's available right away, or maybe it's more of a thing, like more of a straight up hunt for these figures that are waitlisted on Sideshow. So just showing you a couple more images here. Now, any of you guys are interested, are you planning on getting this C3PO, or maybe you ordered him as well? What are your thoughts on this Hot Toys figure of C3PO from Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones? And that was from the, I think they announced him last year for the, what would have been the 20th anniversary? The 20th anniversary of the movie. So yeah, so this was the most recent release from Hot Toys. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one here, and let me see. I'm trying to find out which one that is. I think it's the Kate Bishop. Let me try to get the graphic here. Hold on a sec. Okay, so the next one is from the Hawkeye series. So Kate Bishop. So this is what is the actor's name? Haley Steinfeld. Haley Steinfeld. Hawkeye. She plays Kate Bishop. So Hot Toys decided that they're going to make Kate Bishop from the series, the Disney Plus series, which in my opinion sucked, by the way, but that's just my opinion. So I don't think she's a good figure. The head sculpt looks really weird to me. She doesn't really look like the actress to me. So let me try to get some other photos. I'm not going to spend too much time on her though, because like I said, I don't really care too much for this particular figure, but it was released, so, and I think some people do want her because she's waitlisted too. So obviously people bought enough of her that she's waitlisted on Sideshow. I don't know how many actual figures they produce, but she is waitlisted on Sideshow. So let's see. So there's some other images, some other pictures of her. And as you can see here, this is a better shot of the head sculpt. You can kind of see the actress. I don't really see it. She looks kind of weird to me here. And then the other thing is that apparently they didn't release, or they didn't announce, or they didn't produce Hawkeye to go with this figure. So Jeremy Renner's likeness, or Jeremy Renner Hawkeye from the show, Hot Toys didn't even make. I don't know if it was because there was already enough Hawkeye figures from like the movies, Avengers and so forth, that they decided not to make him. But at this point, Kate Bishop is alone, so she's a one-off, I guess you can say. Yeah, so if you're a big fan of the character, if you like the show a lot more than I did, then this is a figure for you. And again, you may have to hunt for her when it comes out, your local comic book store or whatever. So that's it. So that's Kate Bishop. All right, so now I'm going to move on to it's still part of the figures talk segment, but this is not necessarily news, but I found this to be kind of interesting, and this is related to Anakin Skywalker. So I mentioned this before, and I did like, I don't know how many videos, like 2 videos about the Anakin Skywalker, the Artisan, the rooted hair, the limited one that I was able to secure. But we have this here. Now again, this is from Sideshow. So this is the the Anakin Skywalker from Attack of the Clones. And this one was announced last year, and I think this was also part of the 20th anniversary announcement, I believe. I'm not sure if it was last year or maybe it was earlier this year. I'm not entirely sure, but so he was announced, and he was available for pre-order. He has been until recently. So I've seen him on the website, and I saw him and I was like, oh, he looks kind of cool, but I wasn't entirely sure if I was interested yet on getting him. When they announced the Artisan version, the rooted hair Anakin Skywalker from Revenge of the Sith, that came out or was announced, like I said, like a month ago or maybe 3 weeks ago. If I wasn't going to be able to secure that version, I was going to pre-order him. This version, this Attack of the Clones Anakin Skywalker. So that was my intention. I ended up getting the Artisan version, so I'm not gonna need to get him. But I think that's what probably happens with a lot of people. They got the taste of, I want that Anakin Skywalker. I wasn't able to get him. So would this be kind of like a consolation prize? Would you say? I don't know, but maybe it is, because you got a taste of this Anakin and you weren't able to get the Artisan, so it was like, well, let me get this one. And I think that's probably what happened, because now it's in low stock remaining, and it says that it's almost gone on Sideshow. So let me look at the price. So this guy's about to go on waitlist very soon. So if you were actually trying to pre-order him, so it's $279, so it's cheaper than the Artisan version. Obviously, this one doesn't have the rooted hair, sculpted hair, but he still looks cool. At least I think so. He has the 2 lightsabers. So it's expected to ship January through June of 2024. So it's not that far away. But yeah, this guy's about to be gone. It's about to be gone. And let me try to get some other images of him real quick here. Let me see if I can. Okay, so hold on a second. Okay, so here I'm sharing my screen. So this is from Sideshow. So this is the Anakin Skywalker that I'm talking about from Attack of the Clones. If you want to pre-order, $279, low stock remaining. And here's some of the images here. So he looks cool, right? So if I wasn't going to get that Artisan, if I wasn't going to be able to get him, I was going to get this version. Because he still looks cool. I think this is the only one that they have of him as the young Anakin. So, and then they also announced the, Padme. The Padme from Attack of the Clones. So she's also, I think she might have been announced at the same time or shortly afterwards, or maybe before, I'm not sure, but. So this is the alternative if you weren't able to get the Artisan, and that's what I was gonna do. But I think he looks cool, but he will be waitlisted or sold out fairly soon, I think. So what are your thoughts on this Anakin Skywalker from Attack of the Clones? Looks pretty cool. And this is the first time that we see Anakin Skywalker as an adult. So this is the first one here. Very cool. And then this one, I like this one here. So if you have Count Dooku, you can recreate this scene. So this Count Dooku is the Hot Toys version of it, obviously. And I think he's been sold out for a while, for a long time. But if you happen to have him, I would think you may want to get this one as well. So yeah, so I thought it was kind of interesting because it was something that I was already thinking myself. You know, if I wasn't going to get the Artisan version of Anakin, I keep saying Luke, of Anakin, then I was going to get him, and I would have been fine with this one too. So if you guys want to get him, you should probably be getting him pretty soon, because I think he's going to be sold out or waitlisted fairly quickly. So yeah, so that was just something I wanted to just talk about very briefly. So that was the Anakin Skywalker Attack of the Clones. That's it for the Figures Talk segment. I don't think I have anything else here, guys. So let's go to Barbie, Western Barbie. At least that's the plan. And then Ken, still open as well. Same thing. And the giveaway. Oh, so if you haven't subscribed to the channel or not following the Instagram page at the movie Canon, go ahead and do that. Go to the Instagram page for more details. I also posted a video, a clip from the talking about this giveaway. So there's some details there as well as to how you can enter. So if you haven't entered yet and you want to, go ahead and do that. So again, this is the Spider-Man 2, a PS5 physical copy giveaway. And follow the instructions on Instagram or on the video post, like I mentioned. Must have a mailing address within the United States. And this is, like I said, this is a physical copy. So it's not going to be a digital copy that I'll be sending you. I will actually be mailing you this physical copy. So if you have the PS5 with the drive, then obviously this is the one that you would want, right? If you don't have access to that and you're the winner, I mean, that's up to you what you want to do with it. But so that's it, guys. So that's the Spider-Man 2 PS5 game physical copy giveaway. It is open. The winner will be announced closer to the release date of the game, and I'm probably going to do like a live stream to announce the winner. I'm thinking maybe like October 21st, around there. That's when I'll do that. So yeah, guys. So yeah, I think that's it, everyone. So thank you for the guys who watched this live, this latest episode of the Met Report. Next week, I'm planning on possibly doing, because next Saturday is Batman Day, I believe. So I might do a video regarding Batman. I'm not entirely sure yet because of scheduling or whatever. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be doing, but I might do that. And then in October or maybe late September or so, I'm going to come back to or go back to the Horror Talk live streams, because it's going to be Halloween and October is going to take over on my channel. So all you horror fans, Halloween fans, that's what's going to be happening on my channel. And then I think I'll probably still do some Met Report stuff and so forth. So again, thank you everyone for watching. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Movie Canon, if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you guys next time.